No, I mean, no, really, no, it wasn't. The sun wasn't shining today. The sun never shines in Berlin. But it, in a way, it really fits into the theme of today. Since today I want to talk about darkness and evil. So, welcome to another vlog. Guys, so the interesting thing at the moment is to me that very often I talk to people about the lockdown and what's going on at the moment, and very often I hear that people want to get back to normal. They want to go back to their old lives exactly how we had it before. Everything was fine. We had our cafes, we had our restaurants, we had our bars, we could go and go to the movies. This is what everybody wants to have back, the old life. But the big question is, was the old life really that great? Because a lot of things were wrong with our old system. I mean, we had the problems with the environment, obviously, but also economically, in a way, more and more people had less and less of the money, and a few people had most of the money. At the moment, I think it's 1% has 90% of the wealth or something like that. So, why is that? And do we want to go back to the system? I mean, is this system a good system? Or now that everything kind of collapses, maybe it's time to dream up a new system. While we're at it, I mean, we have time now. We could think about what we could do better. How could we change things? Recently I read a book that I really love, and I really I don't want to say admire. I think especially for men, if you admire somebody, it's kind of you want to be him. But if you respect somebody, I think that's even more. And this is somebody I really respect, George Ziegler. He wrote this book, Change the World, Why We Have to Change the Cannibalistic World Order. So he calls our system cannibalistic. So basically what he's saying is the system eats itself. And that's what I believe as well, because capitalism is a very brutal system. I mean, if we're honest to ourselves. If you read, and here's another book, I have to admit I haven't read it, Thomas Piketty, The Capital of the 21st Century. He kind of talks about how capitalism was created. And its foundation lies in slavery. So that's when it started. Buying and selling slaves. Now, is anybody out there who really believes that was a good thing? I don't think so. Even, the crazy right-wing people would say, well, slavery, I'm pretty far right, but no, I don't think that was a good thing, So, but that's the foundation of capitalism. And it didn't stop there. It was always used to prey on the weak and to help people who had money to have even more money. Because the system as we had it is highly corrupt. Obviously, the people with money can buy people who influence, politicians, and they get what they want. And the weak, the people that don't have much, for whatever reason, we even lost our humanity. I mean, in many countries now, people look down on people who are poor and feel like it's their own fault. But do we know that? And is this the system we want to go back to? A system that was founded on slavery, on abusing people. And not only abusing people, abusing everything. Abusing the land, abusing animals, abusing people, abusing everything that there is, you know. Because capitalism is about money. And I think that's why it's so interesting that somebody like Trump became president. Because people always say, oh, there's just this one guy and it's his fault. And, you know, why did he become president? So if you're corrupt, if you're brutal, if you're selfish, if you don't care about anybody else than about yourself, then you win in the system. Then you're a winner. And what kind of system is that? And I remember for myself, even as a child, I didn't really want to be here. I always felt, this is a strange place. Because even as a child, I felt how people are unbelievably selfish. Even because nature was very important to me, and I felt that people, I mean, in a heartbeat, would abuse nature just to gain money. When we come here, we all create egos. People just do. And I was talking about it, maybe it is because we're just playing this game here and we play hide and seek, so the ego is hiding the true self, and then eventually we realize, ooh, that's not really what we are. We're not the ego, we're something that is behind the ego. But people do create egos, and egos are insane. Crazy. So an ego is basically able to do anything. I mean, the craziest stuff. I mean, look what's going on in the world. You can't even make up that stuff. I mean, you can't sit down and have the creativity to come up with what people do to each other. Unbelievable. And why is that? Because we have these egos, and some egos just go crazy because nobody stops them. I mean, look at Trump. Nobody stopped him. He would lie. He would say whatever. Nobody was, you know, he could just do whatever he wanted. And what happens then? The ego gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more crazy. I mean, I had this in my family. I had it with people I knew. You look at these egos and you're like, holy jolly, what is going on here? You are unstoppable. And you're mean. Now, will an ego eventually be in check? Always. Because there's something in this world that we call karma. And you can see it now in Trump. And you can see it in all these other egos that went crazy. Eventually it catches up with you. But it can take some time and the damage is done at that point. So it's really important to keep our egos in check. I mean, Mother Teresa said, I do what I do because I have Hitler in me. And she was talking about her ego. She was talking about knowing that there's something in her that can go nuts. And an ego also really shows its full glory when it has power. So easy for me or anybody to say, I would do things differently if I'm in power. But often people try to change the system. They took over the system, they had a rebellion, and then they had new leaders, and within like a year, they were as corrupt as once before. Because the ego likes power, and the moment you give the ego power, it abuses the power. So the question is, I mean, can we really change the world? Is it possible to change the world, as George Ziegler said so beautifully? I don't know. People in power really have to be evolved beings. They have to have probably done some work on themselves, keep their egos in check, and monitor themselves and see, no, I want more. I want to use my power. I want to abuse my power, and I will not let this happen. Because there were people that wanted to really change the world, wanted to change the system. Some of them probably would have been ready to not abuse the power. And think of Jesus, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Gandhi. So these were really special human beings. And they picked a fight with the system. They said, enough of this. And we all know what happened to them. So, if you want to fight the system, good luck. I bet against you. But what can we do? We can accept that there is evil in the world. Because what is evil? Evil is an ego on the loose. Evil is somebody who doesn't check himself anymore, who just thinks he can do anything. Evil is abusing animals for pure profit. Evil is destroying the environment, again, for pure profit. Evil is abusing other people because you can. So this happens daily and everywhere. So I don't know if we can beat the system. But what we can do is like say, look, not with me. I come up with a different idea. I'll find a different way. I don't want to abuse people. I don't want to be the king of the hill. I want to be happy and pass that happiness on somehow. Because one thing you never find in an ego is happiness, nor do you find it in things. So, in a way, the strive for personal gains is fruitless because the karma is going to get you and there's no happiness in whatever you have anyway. But the big question is this really the system we want to go back into after this lockdown that might last for a couple of months, who knows? I mean, what's really important? Wouldn't have to be the center of the system, Mother Earth, that we protect the environment, that we treat animals humanely, that we treat each other humanely, and most and foremost, that we treat ourselves humanely, because that's kind of where the whole thing starts. Because I didn't like the system. I don't want the system. I think it's a shitty system, honestly. And maybe it's time to change. Just saying.